Hello and welcome to this CNBC Africa special. My name is Makeda Mahadeo. On today's episode of Captains of Industry, we are sitting down with the chairman of the Private Sector Federation of Rwanda, and he is known for being a serial entrepreneur in the country. Robert Bapfakurer is the one who's responsible for bringing Mukwano Industries products to Rwanda. He's also known for having serviced apartments in Kigali and, of course, for being a shareholder in a major shopping center as well as a luxury high-rise hotel, Ubumwe Grand. We'll be sitting down with him today to speak about his journey to where he is now and what his vision is for the future of the private sector in Rwanda. Thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
You know, we have seen your career over the years. We've seen the different projects that you've been involved with, and now you are the chairman of PSF Rwanda. How did you get here? Can you talk to us a bit about how you even got started in the business world?
Thank you. I started the business in 1991 after my university. My passion was to do business. So when I finished school, I'd found a way of starting a business. That time I didn't have the capital, but I had relatives whom I thought they have some savings. They are civil servants, and that time I think the money had value. I was in Uganda. I approached them, we discussed. One of them understood my issue and was interested to work with me in the business. So one of my uncle borrowed money from the bank and I started. From that time to now, I'm doing business. So a lot of challenges, a lot of successes, but mostly I've learned a lot, and I have a lot of experience in businesses. I have done businesses in different countries. I have contacts from different countries. But what was important, what helped me to grow, to do well, is being trustworthy and hardworking. Yes.
So you are self-made. You said that you got some startup capital from an uncle of yours, but overall you're self-made. Do you have any mentors who helped you in your journey?
Yes. The University of Makeda is near Kampala city. I had friends and relatives who were in business in the downtown. So over time, when I was in school, I would visit them where they're working from, and it created some kind of interest in me to do business. Yes.
Right. You know, working with the Private Sector Federation, of course, you're working closely with the private sector and the government. In what ways is the government helping to enable these entrepreneurs to work at their best capacity?
Yeah, government helps in different ways. Government creates a good environment for business in many ways, and it helps startups. It helps to create avenues to get banks in the country where business people borrow money to do their businesses. But what is very important is a good environment under which the businesses are working. That's the only way business can do well, and that is what we do as leaders in private sector, to always work with government, and where we see an issue in the business sector, we talk with government and we sort it out. Yes.
Right. You are well suited to be working with the private sector because you've had your own journey of getting through struggles and overcoming challenges. What are some of the things that you've picked up along the way? You're working across industries between real estate and foodstuffs, different things like that. What are some tips and tricks that you've picked up that you're able now to impart on other entrepreneurs?
What is important in a business is you have to get capital, and the capital, you normally get it from banks. So what is very important is to have a good relationship with banks, so that they can support you in your businesses. Without that, it's very hard to grow into businesses, to do different businesses. And of course, you have to sit down, plan, search for businesses, build a good relationship with suppliers, and you have to plan also in terms of saving and investments. Without that, you cannot grow. You cannot do one thing and leave another. They have to move together.
Right.
Yes.
One of the main challenges that we hear from entrepreneurs in the private sector is that access to funding. How have you managed to work with banks to not only fund your own endeavors, but to help other entrepreneurs?
What is very important with banks is that you need to keep your books. They need to see numbers. Without having your balance sheets, your financials, banks cannot lend you. So what has helped me to work with a bank successfully is that always my financials are doing well, and sometimes they want to see the turnover. They lend you according to the turnover, but also you need to have the assets which are collateral to the bank loans. Concerning other private sector members, what we advise, particularly medium, they can access the bank, but small and micro, it's very, very difficult. They have not reached a level of being bankable. They are not keeping books. The way they are working is not the best way which can interest the bank. So the banks find the small and the micro business people to be highly risky. But we are trying our best to make kind of collective investment within these small people, so that bank can trust them. Individually, bank don't trust, but collectively, they tend to trust.
So that's one of the initiatives that you're working on to help these small and micro businesses get funding?
Yes, yes.
In what ways can banks help to enable these entrepreneurs? What can they do to create more of a friendly environment for them?
The banks always fear the risks. So banks, it is actually the government to push and create some kind of environment, but also banks should find different products which can suit the small and the micro business people. It is about being innovative and find a way, because the small and micro, they make about 97% of the total business people in Rwanda. So when you leave out that kind of numbers, you are not doing business. So I would urge the banks to find a way, different products, how they can assist small business people.
Right. Throughout the years, you've been involved with group investment schemes. What's the advantage of working in groups?
There are a lot. One is that you put together money as capital, equity. This money is not costly. It's your money you invest. Two, you put together ideas, you work together. The risks are very small. If you say, for example, you are 10 people, 20 people working together, you'll have a board of about 5 people. You'll have a management. The rest of 15 out of 20 will be doing their other businesses. So it reduces the risk, it reduces your activities, and you gain. You are able also to do big businesses, like you said before, like a shopping mall, which is maybe worth like $40 million. Individually, you can't manage. So collective investment is very advantageous and is long-lasting. We have witnessed whereby individual people doing individual businesses, the businesses grow, but eventually they collapse. They collapse with owners. But companies, they stay, because the moment you agree to work together, you are almost at the same level of understanding, experience, and skill in businesses. Therefore, if one goes out, the rest continue. And as I told you, when you work together, 20 people, 5 will be on the board. Even the board may not be necessarily shareholders. So the company will continue. It can't fail even if 1 or 2 out of the system.
So how do these groups come together? What does it look like for the genesis of a group like this?
Recently, we have changed the way we are doing it, but before, their friends who come together, discuss business. If one, two bring up the idea and they end up, other people get interested and they start together. But currently, because I've seen this as an advantage to businesses, and I'm trying my best to make sure I bring it to generally in the business community. What we do is we look at the sector and we try to convince the people in the same sector to come together. We show them advantages, we show them different things, and after coming together, we approach the bank to work with those kind of people, depending on where they want to invest. And it has worked very well. Secondly, also, it is easy to advocate for them in government in case, for some kind of incentives and other things which are required to be given by government. So it is very attractive and good to work in groups.
Right. How do you decide what you're going to invest in?
Most times we look at things which are not available in the market or which have challenges in the market. I give you an example. In Rwanda, we've been having a problem of the transportation of goods from the port to Rwanda. So when we found there's a shortage, we organized people to buy trucks. And currently we have one group, a company called the 9 United Traders Limited, which is made up of 25 people, business people. They invested over, I think their whole investments are about $7 to $8 million. So they are able to bring a number of trucks. They have brought about 100 trucks. And for a long time, there was a problem in terms of transport from the port to here. But now the problem is going to be reduced to a certain level.
Right, so really just identifying that need and figuring out how to fill that need.
Yes.
Right. Well, we are right now sitting down with the chairman of the Private Sector Federation of Rwanda. We're discussing his journey and how he's been able to work in the sector, in the private sector, and of course, how he's been able to elevate it. We are going to take a very short break, but we'll be right back with more Captains of Industry just after this. Welcome back. You're watching Captains of Industry, and we are sitting down with the chairman of the Private Sector Federation of Rwanda, Robert Bapfakurer. He is telling us a bit about his journey thus far and, of course, how he's working today with the private sector. So before we took the break, we were talking about how you identify the markets that you want to invest in and some of the ways that you've been managing to create funding, etc., and, of course, working with group investment schemes. You were saying that you think that that is one of the best ways to go about it. But inevitably, when you're working in a group investment scheme, there will be disagreements, there will be challenges. What are some of the challenges that you faced in working in groups?
In my group, where I worked, since I started business, I think I started working with another person, two of us. We're young people. The challenges we had that time, we were doing business ourselves. And we could reach a time where each of us want to build a small house, another one build a house. At the end of the day, there is no control. So in a short time, or after like 3-4 years, you are doing well. After that time, you start doing bad because you take away the money from the business. But currently, the work in a group, collective investment is in different way in terms of management. The only way it can be successful is that you have to have a corporate management, whereby you have a management, you have also shareholders, you have a board. and shareholders should not intervene into management and board. So in that way, the business can grow and the disagreements are minimal because there is nowhere a shareholder will be involved with another shareholder. But where the shareholders are involved and in the management, that's where you find disagreements, a lot of issues. But if it is properly done like that, you find no disagreement. Shareholders just come to be reported to see the status of the company. If there is need for additional equity, they do come, but normally there is nowhere a shareholder is related to the capital of the business, because that's where it is very sensitive, whereby someone just draw money from the business without considering that business is different from himself.
Right.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned that in the past, a lot of these groups would come together because they were friends or they had an idea in common. How is it that people who maybe don't have that much experience in this space can get the knowledge that they need to be able to run these kind of businesses successfully?
Yes, it is. If they don't have the knowledge, it is really very hard for them. People run business over the years, they never achieve. They always go up and down, simply because one, they don't have the knowledge of books, keeping books. They never keep their financials. So when they grow a little bit, they cannot cope up with the growth. So in the end, they do fail. So there are many business people outside here who have worked more than 20, 30 years, but they have never grown. They can be there, they get some profit, they fail, they go up like that. What is required in business is that you need to be systematic. You need to have all departments working well, particularly the accounting department. Otherwise, it will be very difficult, yes.
Is that what you attribute your success to?
Yes. I'm a Bachelor of Commerce holder, so I know the accounts. I do it myself. I was doing it myself, and I know who to employ to do my books, and I know what they could deliver to me.
So if you had a piece of advice to give to an aspiring entrepreneur, what would that be?
I would say to be to improve on the management of his businesses. You may have business meaning you trade, let's say trading. You buy from somewhere, you come and sell to another place or from your country. But that process, how do you manage it? So you need to be able to manage the process of trading. Not only trading, even other businesses. Let's say hotel. If you don't have a proper management of your sales, your expenses, you end up failing, or maybe people cheating you and you cannot easily know. Yes.
You know, we've seen just actually today, by the time this airs, maybe not today, but recently then, the World Bank's Doing Business index came out. Rwanda is still number 2 in Africa for ease of doing business. How does that contribute to the growth of the economy? I think we see FDI from that, but how does that ranking and how does making sure that doing business is easy in Rwanda, how does that contribute to the growth?
Of course, doing business is easy. It means that you are able to do business. Take an example. In some countries, you find that registering a business is very cumbersome and expensive, which is not in Rwanda. So you go to RDB, Rwanda Development Board, the same day, 6 hours, you register your company, you go to business. Here, getting work permit, get residential permit is not difficult. There is a one-stop center where you look for such kind of things. On top of that, there are a lot of challenges in businesses in different countries. Let's say corruption, you go in customs, you can't get your goods out. You must tip someone else, someone in the customs, which is not in Rwanda. So here, us who are doing business in Rwanda, we are enjoying the environment. The environment is very good. I think that attributes to Rwanda being rated number 2 in the world.
In Africa, yes. So what do you consider to be the main factors that contribute to a healthy and thriving private sector for any country? What needs to be there?
There must be a good collaboration between private sector and government, because government has to create an environment by all means. Otherwise, businesses by itself cannot thrive without government and the political will in the country. So, as I mentioned, in Rwanda, government, our leader, our president is for business. In many countries, private sector is not considered as an important element in the economic growth. The government is always trying itself to work out, but what is important is that the business must be grown, must be given a good environment in order to thrive. There are two categories of people. Of course, there is people who have grown in business. There are small ones. Government has to create a conditions where the small businesses are able to grow. So I think economic growth, you must have private sector, and it must have a good environment in order to do the business properly. Yes. Yes.
You joined PSF in 2018.
Yes.
What do you hope to contribute to the organization, and what's your vision for PSF?
My vision for PSF is to have to have big and good companies which are able to do big contracts, companies which are able to partner with other big companies from the region, companies which are able to compete within the regions, and this we are doing it in the same way, collective investment, because we find Rwanda is a small country, small market. We have to expand our companies in order to reach out to other markets. Number 2, we are trying to make sure Rwanda private sector accesses in other markets in Africa. Ahead of us, there is CFTA, which is coming in 2020. We need to have to be number 1 to have a benefit from this initiative. Another thing is to help the small and medium entrepreneurs in order to grow, to be bankable. We try to reach them out, to form them into groups as well, to make sure the government trusts them, even the bank can trust them. So that is part of the journey I'm doing in the private sector.
In your career, would you say there was any turning point or any one piece of very practical advice that you ever received that you would want to convey or share?
Businesses, you have to work over time in order to get such kind of levels. What happened maybe in 10 years after I started is that I had already made collaborations going in different industries. Like you said, you worked with Mukwano Industries at that time. We are going in Mukwano, very many of us, but they found me as a trusted person. They called me back and we negotiated. I started being like their distributor in Rwanda. And from that time, it helped me to move ahead very fast. I would get goods on credit, which does not attract interest. So, you go to the bank, I borrow, but now I supply, I'm lending you the goods. So, being trustworthy is very, very important, and hardworking, of course. Yes.
Right. So from these conversations, it seems as though 2 of the main things that a successful entrepreneur needs is, of course, being trustworthy and knowing what they're doing in terms of numbers and management. How important do you think the right education is to having a successful business? Is it necessary?
It is very, very important, particularly when you are growing. It is very important you are able to employ a number of people. You are able to know who to employ, who is not to employ. People who are not educated, you'll find most of them work wife and husband or any other relative, but they never move from that stage because of fear. They fear if they employed, maybe they could be cheated and so on and so forth. So they end up working throughout their life. But when you are educated, you are able to employ. You employ the human resource, you put in the marketing, you put the accounting, and so on and so forth, because you know what the importance of these departments. But somebody who is not educated, you will not know the importance of a marketing department. He may not know the importance of human resource. He may not know the importance of many things which are basically from education.
You have been watching Captains of Industry, where we've been sitting down with Robert Bapfakurer, the chairman of the Private Sector Federation of Rwanda, and so much more. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Makeda Mahadeo, and we'll see you the next time.